of hell, but we won't back down. So yes, we'll stand our ground. We won't be pushed around. We must keep you from putting our kids in the ground, so we can't stand down. No, we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't stand down, brother. So we'll stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. 'Cause we know what's right. And we got plenty of fight. And if you think you're gonna keep pushing us around, well, you'll lose that crown. 'Cause we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've got to stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. You know, it's pretty clear. If these lunatics think they have the right to strip us of our rights of self-defense, and if they're willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. No, we won't back down. Back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've got to stand our ground, so we won't back down. No, we won't back down. Virginians, you won't fight this fight alone.
All right.
Hi there, everybody. Welcome and thanks for joining us. Let us know where you're tuning in from in the chat there. Philip Van Cleave, VCDL president, and Jill McDaniel, VCDL Academy director, with us tonight.
This way. Backwards.
There, yeah.
There we go.
So Jill there, Philip there. So welcome.
Yeah, up and down we've got. It was left and right there.
And of course, I rearrange the windows every week, so you're never sure which way to point, right?
No. That's the point? No. Yeah.
Anyway, Philip, you got a bunch of good stuff for us tonight. Would you like to start us off?
Okay. Well, first, as a reminder, that the 30th anniversary of VCDL is coming up very shortly, and we're going to have a celebration in
Charlottesville.
Charlottesville. I was going to say Williamsburg. I knew that one right. In Charlottesville at the Ravenna Rifle and Pistol Club. And we're going to be giving away a gun. I mean, a really sweet handgun, a Sig Sauer P365 AXG Legion. So that's like the top of the line gun. It's got a metal body. That's what I carry. I've got a couple of those with a red dot on them. A wonderful gun, very accurate, nice looking, not great features, low recoil and all that. So that we're giving it away, but the secret to that is that you've got to let us know, to give an RSVP. I need your name, first and last names to put you on the list. Then what we're going to do is we'll print that list out, and as you come in the door, check in with us, and we'll take your name off the list and give you a ticket. And so there's no cost whatsoever. It's just, door prize. And we may
Right.
have a couple others. Pat talked about maybe having a few things, and I might have maybe a packet of ammo or something as another door prize. So we'll probably have
Mm-hmm.
a few. Um, this organization was originally formed as the Northern Virginia Citizens Defense League by Paul Moog um, back in 1994, October 22nd of 1994, 30 years ago. So Paul will be there talking to us a little bit about that. We'll then in flash forward from 94 to 98, that's when VCDL became what it is. It incorporated as the Virginia Citizens Defense League. We got rid of the Northern. Now it was the whole state. When Paul started, it was just 30 people up in Northern Virginia that got together and said, we've got to do something. And this shows you the power, again, of what just a few people can do. They got the laws changed the very first year. And it wasn't a minor little tweak. This was a major earth shattering change. It went from a may issue state to a shall issue. That was huge. And the other thing was the Democrats controlled the House and the Senate at that time, and there was a Republican governor. So in that environment back then, they did a massive change to Virginia gun rights and moved them forward in a huge way. That Virginia went from a few thousand permit holders to what we've got today, which is about 750,000. It was a huge change, and so we thought we'd get together. The other founders of VCDL, the other people that were there when we incorporated, were like Val Fennell and Jim Snyder, and of course Paul Moog and George Pettit. I've tried to get a hold of George. He's moved. I think he's down in North Carolina. I haven't had any luck, but we will have the other three there to share their experiences and talk about what was going on back then. Val Fennell now is in Pennsylvania, and he is the state coordinator for Gun Owners of America, who again is somebody that we work with constantly. I mean, they're just wonderful, and so that's worked out really well. So, in fact, I saw Val Fennell over the weekend. I went up there. Car Arms every year in October, I guess it is. They have a festival up there, which is sort of a gun rights thing. They have lots of speakers coming up, and some well-known speakers. In the gun rights as well as just in the freedom community. So that was kind of fun being up there and listening to a lot of these speakers and rubbing elbows with a lot of people up there. But Val was up there with their Gun Owners of America, and boy, they're really pushing voting, which is another issue on my list. Again, I cannot emphasize enough. I mean, this looks very interesting. If gun owners will turn out and vote, we might be able to do something really wonderful. But we've got to get people out to vote. And a lot of you that are listening are probably voters. You may have already voted or you're going to vote. You're registered. You guys are on top of it all. But boy, if you can reach out to, especially if you're a hunter, man, if you can get in front of your own hunter, if you have like a meeting of your hunters, especially this time of year, I imagine that a lot of times hunting clubs get together, get in there and, bring some voter registration and talk to these guys. So, don't think they will not take away your hunting rifle, and think about everybody else at the same time. We as a country, we're all brothers and sisters. If they take away my self-defense handgun, that should be something that concerns a hunter. And just like if they said, well, you can't hunt anymore with firearms, that would concern me, even though I don't hunt. Because again, that's brothers and sisters. So
It is. Yes.
we've got to look at it that way.
Absolutely. And for you women out there that are listening, talk to your female friends. Talk to them about the importance of the Second Amendment. And, I know that we all have other rights and other issues that we care about deeply. But without the Second Amendment, we can't defend any of our other rights. So if you're going to have to prioritize an issue at the poll, make it a Second Amendment issue, please, because that is the one right that protects all of the others. I did notice on here that Big Boys Guns has joined us tonight. They have been a huge supporter. They've contributed to the VCDL PAC. When the PAC had the fundraising events, they donated merchandise and things. And they also have invited us down for events that they have down there. So VCDL really appreciates Big Boys Guns and all of the other retailers out there that have supported the organization. We live off of dues and contributions. That's what we use to fight all these lawsuits and to go down and lobby for your rights and all of the educational programs that we do. So we would not be here without you guys. We would not have gotten Virginia from a may issue state to a shall issue state without the grassroots, without all of the people, the individuals and the companies and organizations that make up VCDL. So thank you to all of you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's numbers that count. And in fact, a lot of people are envious of us because of the turnout we can get with gun owners, and that it pays off really well. Yeah, I saw that comment. A patriot from Warsaw points out that we are brothers and sisters, and even across the border up in Canada, that they're adopting their own sort of the Second Amendment in part of Canada, because what's going on up there could happen down here if we're not careful. They don't have a Second Amendment. They have no right to bear arms, and the government can come in there, and their country's been slipping away as well. They're seeing some real problems up there. So again, hopefully we can serve as some kind of a model down here in the United States to help them up there in Canada, as well as some of these other states. Again, the pressure that we're seeing on our gun rights is all over the United States. I mean, there's really nowhere that's totally immune, that there isn't efforts to overturn the Second Amendment. By the way, before I forget, on that RSVP for the 30th anniversary, if you can make that, it's from 6 to 8 p.m. on
26th
October.
of October.
It's October 26th, 6 to 8
Saturday.
p.m. a Saturday. And RSVP to me, president@vcdl.org. I'm keeping the master list, and we'll print it out and bring it with me. So that's 6 to 8, October 26th. And let's see here. I was going to talk a little bit about the Garland versus Vanderstock case. This is the one that deals with.
Real quick, before you do that, the meeting will have a potluck dinner as well.
Oh, yes. So if you want to don't need to bring something if you can't, but if you want to, bring something to share.
Full details are on the VA alert page. It was in the last VA alert to go out, so it's right at the top of the page. All right. I won't interrupt you anymore.
No, it's all right. So Garland versus Vanderstock, this was a Supreme Court case. It's been heard by the Supreme Court last week, and they won't rule on it till maybe June of 2025. So this is not going to be ruled on anytime soon. I'm a little pessimistic on this. Not everybody is. I know that Jared with Guns and Gadgets is sort of thinking that by maybe 5-4, the Supreme Court will side with gun owners on this one. I don't know. It's a tough one. But one of the issues that came up in that case was, and the justices brought it up. They said, look, you're saying that anything that can be readily converted to a firearm is a firearm. So, if you could take a block of aluminum and readily convert it to a firearm, then that block of aluminum is a firearm all by itself. Sounds pretty insane, but that's what the government's arguing. But what they brought up is something that's been a concern about this whole concept. And that is, well, An AR-15 can be readily converted to a machine gun. You have to drill a few holes, you got to change a few parts, and presto changeo, you've got a machine gun. And so the justices were grilling the lawyer, for the attorney general on this whole setup, and they all know that she told the Supreme Court, the AR-15 was designed to be a semi-automatic, and therefore we would not look at it as something that could be readily converted to a machine gun. But I don't, I'm not comfortable that they won't go back on that, especially if elections go wrong, that they won't go back on that. ATF won't say, well, these AR-15s, as we read them, they're machine guns because they can be readily converted.
Yeah, you have to wonder if that wasn't by design, kind of a backdoor thing there. Just like the pistol brace. For how many years did they say, oh no, a pistol brace is a pistol brace, it's still a pistol, it's not a short barrel rifle, and we don't care if somebody puts it against their shoulder, it's still a pistol brace, and you don't need any special rules. Oh, wait, till we change our mind. So
we change. That's exactly right. They can do that at any time, and there we go. And you might say, well, but they told the Supreme Court that they wouldn't do that. On the other hand, if they do it, you know how long it'll be before it gets in front of the Supreme Court again. Could be years. And by then, if you hadn't given up your gun, you might be sitting in jail, kind of a situation. But that would create, could you imagine the effect of making AR-15s illegal and confiscating them? Could you imagine what that would do? It's not a pretty picture.
No.
Nobody is going to give them up. And gosh, in states like Connecticut, they tried that, where they wanted people to register AR-15s at one point. Nobody, like 5% did it. And even the police weren't registering theirs because they weren't exempt for the guns they had at home. They didn't even do it. Now that's Connecticut. Imagine somewhere like Virginia, where we're used to gun rights. We're used to, the Second Amendment. We got the right. It had the right for ages to carry guns here. I can't even imagine what kind of response they would get. They'd be lucky to get 1%, and everybody else saying mono labe.
Yeah, I could see that starting a war.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look what happened in 2020 when they were talking about making pretty much all semi-automatics illegal in Virginia. And there was, I'd say, a little bit of pushback there.
Yeah, 50,000 people at least showing up.
I mean, in that situation, and dare I say anything insurrection-y, but that could have been one. I mean, but
they were worried about that. They were worried.
But we proved ourselves to be the actual peaceful.
We did. They also backed off, and they completely got rid of that bill. It was gone. It was gone. They brought it up the next day, and it wasn't even. It was in the committee. It wasn't even converted, and they killed it right away, right off the bat. Boom, boom, gone.
We don't want them back here. We don't want them back here again.
So they walked away from that one. They ran away from that one, and they haven't quite brought that back. They keep nibbling around the edges, and even those get knocked back. But it's not going to go away. That's why again we have to. The way you protect your rights is you stay active in this stuff. Every time they come near that third rail, we need to make sure they get one hell of a shock so that they keep thinking, you know what? No, I'm not. I don't even want to talk about this anymore. But if we don't, if we get apathetical, don't show up, then we're going to end up in a position where things can get very difficult. It's easier to do it now when it's not a problem and make sure that they know it's a third rail. So, but again, the thought is out there with this Vanderstock, and again, the Supreme Court justices are the ones bringing this up. They were concerned because it's a logical next step. You think you're calling something, you're calling an apple, applesauce because it could be readily converted to applesauce. Well, but no, it's an apple. You can do other things with it. It wasn't not, applesauce is not a function of nature directly. So anyhow, so that's something we'll be keeping an eye on. At this point, the case has been read. The justices asked their questions. Just listening to the questions that were asked from Amy Coleman Barrett and so forth, Amy Comey Barrett, I just don't know. I'm a little skeptical that this may not go well, but we'll see. We have, at this point, it is what it is, and they've got a lot of time to lull this over.
We'll see. Yeah. There was something I was going to. Oh, yeah, I remember what I was going to say. So 2020 was impressive because so many people showed up, but we had major threats to our rights that year. And there was a good chance that a lot of them were going to make it through because of the balance of power in our legislature.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to see people showing up when things need to get done, but it's also imperative that those same people show up when the balance of power is in our favor, because that's when we can really get things done. If we have 50,000 people show up when we have a positive balance of power in the legislature, we could get constitutional carry passed, we could get safer schools, we could accomplish major advances. So what I'm trying to say is don't sit on your laurels when things are good. That's when you take the momentum that you've already got and keep pushing even harder.
Yeah, otherwise you end up with a vacuum at a time when you should be, you're standing still when you should be running and running hard. You want to take that same third rail that was burning the gun controllers and use it to power the gun rights movement. So they go, wow, did you see that crowd out there? People really want this. And we are actually, I'm shifting terminology from constitutional carry to permitless carry, because there's been a good argument about this. Constitutional carry would imply that we could carry everywhere pretty much. The Constitution doesn't say you can't carry here, you can't carry there. It says shall not be infringed. So true constitutional carry would say that, you can carry everywhere you go. But permitless carry is what we really are fighting for here, at least for now. Ideally, we'd like to have constitutional, where you can go virtually just about everywhere possible. Certainly, I've said this before, we should absolutely be able to carry everywhere that an off-duty or retired police officer can carry. If they're not on duty or they're retired, then we should carry in the same places and have the same type of guns, same magazine size, the same everything. Because again, when they're off duty, they're just like us. They're no different. And there shouldn't be more separate rights just because of an occupation you pick when you're not doing that occupation.
Exactly.
So that's something we'll be working on as well. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want to pull them down to our level. Oh no, I want to see the off-duty police able to carry, virtually almost every place imaginable, with very few exceptions. Very few. I want to pull us up to where they are. That's what we want to pull them down. We want to pull us up to where they are. So I want to be clear on that. Okay. By the way, we're also, I don't know if there's anybody here or if you know anybody from the Washington County area or the city of Bristol. If you're in those localities, or somebody in their friends, family, coworkers, whatever, that do live in either of those localities that are gun owners, we're looking for some plaintiffs to challenge some laws. I'm not going to go into details about what the laws are here, but we certainly will if anybody's interested in getting, and this won't cost any money to the plaintiff. There's no legal thing here. It's just that we need some plaintiffs up there, but with some cases that we're working on. So if you know anybody, have them get in touch with me. Again, president@vcdl.org. I put up a video this last alert talking about militias and it was an excellent video. I don't know how many of you took the time. I noticed, I think in the comments, I did see some people that had seen the video. I believe it was, or it might have been an email that came in right before I started this. But I've seen some comments. Yeah, that they really liked that. Um, it kind of clarified a lot of mysteries um, about that. It was Dr. Vieira that did the video. This guy, no, he's a lawyer. I believe it's a constitutional attorney, if I'm not mistaken. But he really has studied the whole militia thing, and he's been talking about it for years as to what's legal and what's protected as far as a militia goes and what's not. And he made some very very good points in there. The bottom line really is that the unregulated militia, which is what all of us are, unless you're in the regulated militia like the National Guard, but the unregulated militia, which is pretty much everybody that's a citizen out there that's capable of in the right age range to be to be useful in a militia. Um, that's something that can be called up by the governor. If something goes wrong, he can call us up to service to protect the state, either national disasters, a terrorist attack, something of that nature. We could actually be called up, and the governor would have also the ability to provide training to the unorganized militia. But one of the things that Dr. Vieira brought up was that, and this is the same thing, by the way, at federal level, same thing. There's a federal looks at this again, that the president could call up the unorganized militia. But as part of the militia, we have to have the weapons that a militia would be expected to have. We wouldn't be expected to have slingshots. We would be expected to have what the other side loves to call weapons of war. That's exactly what a militia would have. That's the whole point of a militia. And these bans, attempted bans on AR-15s and things like that, Dr. Vieira argues to be totally unconstitutional. It's made it so that you would then be unable to fulfill an obligation as the unorganized militia, either to the state or to the federal level. You would now have some of the very things that you need to fulfill that position taken away through a semi-automatic firearm ban. I mean, one would even argue the fact that machine guns are, basically all new machine guns are banned, would fall in that same category. Those are things that a militia would need. And, his suggestion is that we do start thinking more along those lines. When he looks at the Second Amendment, he sees that the unorganized militia is a key part of the Second Amendment. Well, we tend to realize that that's part of it and focus more on the right shall not be infringed. He's suggesting that one should pay a lot of attention to the first part about the unorganized, the militia. So if you haven't watched the video, I suggest Celeste, you do. There was also an interesting video on the last alert. I don't know, again, if some of you watched it or not, but it dealt with a road rage incident. And it was a case where, again, somebody got in a rage at a driver. He didn't even know why. And it ended up escalating, and he ended up, the good guy ended up shooting the other driver and another occupant in the vehicle. And it was interesting how that one escalated so quickly. And it's an example where sometimes it helps to kind of think through things. And one of the parts that kind of escalated this was that the good guy, again, you're rattled. You got somebody threatening you. They stopped the car, blocked you in. They're walking at you in a rage, and your adrenaline's flowing at a time like that. And so the gun owner yelled something at the guy that as the guy was starting to walk away without anything happening. He said, "Well, I'd like to get out of here as soon as you move your piece of junk car out of the way." And that in turn triggered another round. And this is the kind of thing you really have to avoid. I think he was lucky that the good guy was that this, he didn't get charged with this, but it's easy to cross that line into being part of the problem.
Yep.
You want to maintain that innocence, and it is not easy. Believe me, it is not an easy thing to do. The best you can do is think in your mind when your adrenaline is flowing like that you've got to maintain your innocence. Just you know, just say I'm sorry and whatever, or maybe don't even say anything. Just try to calm the situation down, but do not. And the guy kind of regretted that he'd opened his mouth when it might have been going to slow down a little bit. And then his wife didn't help, or the person in his car. I don't know if it was a wife or a girlfriend, but she yelled something about him having a gun, the good guy, and that in turn triggered a whole nother level of events. So and that wasn't planned. But you also have to figure things like that could happen. So it's a good idea to talk to your family and just say, look, in an emergency, you shut up. If something
Yeah.
happens, let me handle it. You don't say, I don't care what happens. You sit there quietly and let me handle it. We don't want two people speaking. You might also tell if you're a man, and tell your wife, if I say a certain word, which I normally wouldn't throw out just out of the blue,
Yeah.
then you do the following things. Like you get behind me and you stay behind me, or you get out of Dodge, or whatever you decide, or maybe you have different words for different things, but just say, I will never use this word except in a bona fide emergency, something you might not even see. So you just react accordingly. If you don't know what's going on, assume that I do, and follow those directions without question.
Yes.
That's a great thing to have lined up before something bad goes on. That way you don't have to worry about your spouse or your children. You sort of know what you've directed them to do. Um,
Kind of
and
like having a safe word,
Yes.
yes,
you know.
yes. So it's something, it's good to think about this stuff. Hopefully you won't ever need it, but if you ever need it, it'll be too late to be trying to set something up. It'll
Yeah,
be,
my parents, my father was a police officer in Virginia, and my parents, I was maybe about 8. My siblings and we all sat down with my dad one day. He gave us all safe words. Never had to use them a day in our lives, but here I am, 29 and some years, and I have 29. But I have never. I mean, like I still remember those very vividly, and just sitting down with my dad and having him remind me constantly. And you want to, especially with younger children, you want to be able to teach them that it's not a word that you use all the time. You don't tell anyone, but you also want to consistently plant that seed in their head that this is, in case there's an emergency, this is what you do. It's a consistent path with them. And I, to this day, still remember pretty much every time we ever talked about our safe word. I still remember my safe word. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it's just, it's just something that sits with you. And especially as a parent now, we're in that practice right now with our child, our son, and just getting him to understand that, this is not necessarily stranger danger, because sometimes there are strangers out there that could be helpful people. So we're trying our best to kind of, like Phil was saying, fix that verbiage, fix that lingo, to notice and recognize who the good folks are and know when to implement your plan. And it's hard to do it as little kids. So God bless any of the parents out there that are doing that now or have done that, because it's a
Yeah.
mission within itself. But what Phil's saying, I mean, I remember it to this day,
And you can practice it.
Uh,
You can practice it. You could tell your spouse or your children, this is a test. And then boom, there's that keyword. And then make sure everybody remembers it and everybody does what they're supposed to do. But you've warned them that this isn't the real thing. I'm not gonna give you the warning. I'm just gonna
mhm,
give you the word if there's an emergency. And that could save lives.
absolutely.
So it's something to think about. Just like a lot of us, when we go somewhere, we automatically check, where's the exit?
Yeah.
Where is this? Where is that? And it doesn't take long to do that, and just kind of keep yourself alert as to what's going on around you. Odds are nothing will ever come of it. But if it does, if you're one of the unlucky ones, that kind of preparation can pay off big time. Can be the difference between walking away and living and not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pat that was working. We have uh, a theme song that was put together for VCDL in honor of Greg Trojan, who passed away. One of our executive members passed away. I don't know. Pat was
Yeah.
trying to get that to play. Do you have any luck?
Let me see if I can get that to play. Hang on.
There it goes.
I like it when a plan comes together.
Yeah, me too.
In the heart of old Virginia back in '94, the league was born with a mighty roar, defending rights to bear and to own. Standing tall, they made it known. For the dream of liberty, they take a stand, protecting freedoms in this blessed land. With every voice that joins the fight, they shine a beacon in the night. Oh, the Virginia Citizens Defense League, champions of rights we all agree. To hold responsibly, to live so free. They're the guardians of our liberty. Informing minds with truth and with care. They fight injustice, face it fair. From country roads to cities call, they're building bridges one and all. With a mission clear and heart so bold, their stories now are being told. From every mountain and every glen, they're the strength of free women and men. Oh, the Virginia Citizens Defense League, champions of rights we all agree. To hold responsibly, to live so free. They're the guardians of our liberty. Their stories now are being told. From every mountain and every glen, they're the strength of free women and men. Oh, the Virginia Citizens Defense League, champions of rights we all agree. To hold responsibly, to live so free. They're the guardians of our liberty. They're the guardians of our liberty.
Yeah, that was really impressive. I was blown away. So many thanks to Russ, Rivers, Summers, Francis. Just put that together for us and send it to us. I don't know if any other gun rights groups that have their own theme songs. We've got 2 of them now.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
We are truly blessed.
We are. We've got some wonderful people out there. All kinds of stuff. Almost anything you could imagine. We've got members that do whatever it is. It's amazing. Well, it helps when you've got that many thousands of people out there, all kinds of experts in one thing or another. So that was
Absolutely.
that's great. So we'll probably put that in our rotation every now and then for the opening to
Yes.
our monthly meetings.
Have to get some pictures and put with it and use it in the opening of the live stream from time to time.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about again was we talk about voting again. We've got to vote. By the way, there was there's a picture of Tim Walls, a seasoned gun owner, trying to handle a shotgun, and everybody is just shaking their heads. He didn't even know how to load the gun. It didn't look like things were particularly safe around him. And
Looked
yet
like he
he
was
was,
trying to open a champagne bottle.
I don't know what the hell he was doing. I don't think, obviously he didn't know either. It's like what Trump said about Biden. I don't know what he said, and I don't think he knows what he said. Well, same thing here with with Walls. For the hunters out there, if you think he's going to protect your gun rights, good luck with that. But again, it's all part of this facade. Oh, now Kamala is a gun owner. Well,
Wow.
she claims to own the very type of gun you can't own in California.
Yeah,
Well, except for
banning
her,
it.
because she was in law enforcement as an attorney, the prosecutor at one
Don't,
time in her career.
don't you just love these elitist politicians that it's okay for me to do it because my life is worth more than yours.
Yeah, I took a
Yeah.
particular job, and my job means now forever I can do things you can't do. Well, good
I'm
for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
do it.
put
I'm gonna call BS on it because of the way I watch people's body language and stuff like that, and the way she says, "Yes, I'm a gun owner. I own a Glock." It's
Mm.
just kind of like, okay, that's too prestigious. I mean, who cares? What kind?
Yeah, we were supposed to be impressed by that. She owns a Glock.
I
Well,
own a Glock.
nobody owns Glocks.
I own a Glock. I have a Glock. I don't shoot
Everybody's
it enough.
got.
I own a Glock.
it. In my opinion, that makes it even worse that she
Yeah,
says, I own a gun, but I want to take yours.
Yes.
And
yeah.
so the video of Tim Walsh trying to load a shotgun and then explaining what that little bumpy thing on the end of the shotgun is for old people so it doesn't hurt their shoulder. I put the link to the X post down in the chat. So those of you that want to take a peek at it, I couldn't figure out how to get it to play on the screen. I'll have to practice that. But anyway,
Right now.
it's in there.
Yeah, there's
So
a lot of a lot of comedy going on with all of this. If it weren't for them trying to take away our rights, I mean, you got again Kamala saying, "Hey, I'm a gun owner." Like we're now supposed to be, oh, she's a gun owner, therefore she would never take away our guns. And if she was smart, and I'm not accusing her of being smart. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to falsely accuse her. But if she were smart, she would leave it at that. But oh no, she can't leave it at that because she's not smart. So the next step was to say, but I think we need to do a forced buyback of AR-15s. So right there, she turns around and negates the fact that she's this gun owner that would never take away our guns by immediately saying, yes, she would take away our AR-15s, the
yeah.
most popular rifle in America.
And one of the most versatile. So people come to me and they ask me, well, why would anybody want the AR-15? Well, because it's an excellent learning tool if you have younger people that you're teaching to shoot a rifle. A rifle is always a good place to start because it's easier to control the muzzle direction. AR-15 has less recoil. Yes, it's a big loud bang, but it does have less recoil.
Mm-hmm.
And the adjustable stock on it, you can adjust it down easily for somebody with shorter arms and then adjust it back for somebody with longer arms. And the length of pole is important to have the proper grip on it. So things like that make it more customizable make it actually safer. And so there's
But options are good. You can put a suppressor on one. You can put a light on it if you want to. If you want a light on there, you can put a laser on it if you want. You can put a red dot. You can put a normal scope with a reticle if you wish, or a red dot with a magnifier. There's just all kinds of ways to accessorize that the AR, and you can change the upper at will. You can buy a new upper through the mail and put a new upper on there.
Sure.
And now you can have a different caliber. You can have now if you buy a pistol AR, you buy it as a pistol, or you buy it just as a frame, and then you fill it out yourself. And the first thing you make with it is a pistol. then you can expand that to a rifle and back to a pistol at will by changing the upper. Now, if you buy a rifle configuration, you cannot legally convert that to a pistol, though.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
another good reason. Look, it's a good reason to own an AR pistol, really. I've got them because, again, my concealed carry permit covers that AR pistol. I can conceal it. So in the car, I could throw something over that AR pistol. I can keep it loaded. Where hunting laws talk about you can't have, a lot of places when you're driving, you can't have a loaded rifle or a loaded shotgun. Loaded pistols are fine. And again, you can convert it to a rifle if you wish, and back to a pistol if you wish. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's another one of those brilliant ATF rules. Once a rifle, always a rifle. But if it's born a rifle, it has to always be a rifle. But if it's born a pistol, it can convert to a rifle and then convert back to a pistol
I
again.
think if I'm going to try and defend them, which is, fool's game, but I'll try. I think it's because pistols tend to have a lot of states have much stricter rules for pistols than they do long guns. And the argument is, well, we don't want you buying a rifle and then making it into a pistol to get around the additional rules and regs on pistols. Meanwhile, if you
Well,
get a pistol,
it may have something to do with the restriction on selling a handgun or anything but a rifle or a shotgun to someone under the age of 21.
that's true too.
So,
Could be both.
which
Could be anything like
also
that.
is an unconstitutional rule and is being
It is.
challenged.
Yes,
So,
it is.
I'm looking forward to seeing that one fall.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to get 18 to 20-year-olds to be able to get a concealed carry permit, too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of states have that already.
Yep. Did you
Go
already talk
ahead.
about the lawsuit for Washington County and the city of Bristol?
I did. I brought
Okay.
that one up. I just said we need plaintiffs if you
Right.
live in that area. If you live in another area, we don't need plaintiffs at this point.
Okay. Yeah. So back to the voting. There's a lot of people that are arguing that Trump is the reason that we have the bump stock ban. And yes, that is a grudge that I hold against Trump personally. I have never owned a bump stock, but it was taking a backdoor approach to ban bump stocks was wrong. However, we have Trump now who says that he will take his advice from the GOA instead of the NRA. And we have Kamala who says, I own a gun, but I think we need reasonable restrictions, as in banning what she calls assault weapons, which, she's openly said in numerous times, and she's openly demonstrated when she was in California that she would take people's guns.
Mm-hmm.
So,
walk into your house.
Yeah, I was going to say that earlier.
Your guns.
Plainly, I mean, right out said it. I mean, she said it.
Yeah.
And
she had Gavin Newsom. I think Gavin Newsom was with her, and she was like, "Well, come into your home, make sure that you're being responsible."
Yes. So the other thing to consider is Supreme Court justices. So the justices that Trump has appointed when he was in office have given favorable opinions. What kind of justices would Harris appoint? So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, I will say, Pat, you beat me. Go ahead.
Tess is pointing out, one of our executive members is pointing out that we do have more than two choices on the ballot. We do. I don't know how much of a chance any of the other choices have. And so, strategically speaking, it's a decision that everybody's going to have to make. But, it's a tough election. But we need to get out and vote the big thing is we do not want Harris in there.
Yeah. Well, she certainly made her point. People have to vote their conscience on this, but I will say, you beat me to the punch on that. When I heard that Trump saying that he would get his advice from Gun Owners of America, I greatly relaxed. That, for me, meant that if that's true, if he does that, we should be in good shape. Gun Owners is not, they would never have told him that we should go ahead and ban bump stocks. They would never have heard that from Gun Owners of America.
Right.
So if that's true, if he sticks to that, as gun owners, I think we can pretty much relax. We obviously continue to watch politicians and people in charge, but I would not be nearly on edge if he was still getting his advice from the NRA. And again, the NRA is trying to reconfigure itself, and maybe at the end they'll come out where they're better off. But boy, previously they were just way too quick to give up.
Personally, I would like to see the party system abolished. Too many people vote party lines, and it will be, I think, the downfall of this country. But I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime anyway. So the big point is vote and prioritize Second Amendment rights. So that's all I can say.
Just go for the person you think that will protect your rights the best that's possible. Let's see. Okay, so did you have anything on your list, Pat?
I don't, other than I did want to say that I really enjoyed last month's live stream with the Faster Saves Lives. If there's people watching or listening who have not yet filled out the survey, please go to our website and fill out the survey on how you feel about the safety of our schools. We will be working to get the FASTER program in Virginia schools. I am almost done editing the video from last month and have gotten better sound from Jim. I know he was blinking in and out some, but we did have a local recording of him, so I was able to do that local soundtrack in so that you can understand everything that he was saying. And once I get that up, it'll go out in a VA alert. And I hope that you guys will share it. I hope that you will help by talking to your school boards, talking to your school administrators, and getting them to support the program and put pressure on the General Assembly, because that's the only way we're going to get this through. We have, we're looking at a legislature that's essentially the same as last year. And these are people that said, we don't want to change a mandatory minimum from 5 years to 10 years for somebody that is a repeat violent offender, because we believe that just the threat of locking them up for any length of time, no matter how short, is enough to deter them, even though they are a repeat offender. So that is the logic that we're dealing with. And the only way to get this through is to shame the people that are going to fight it and point out the fact that what they're doing is putting our children, the future of our country, at stake. So it's going to take a lot of pressure from parents all over the state. And when we call on you, I hope that you will hit the buttons and send the emails in support of this program.
Please.
Yeah.
We also get involved with your pass the information along with your sheriff, your local sheriff's office, because they usually handle the school resources. Is that what they are?
Resource officers.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. I know, yeah. So they're a nice backing support for this to help kind of do that backing support with the school, the school admin and teachers and such that y'all that you speak with, hopefully that you speak with them to get them on board, because it's a really awesome program. It is so awesome.
It is. And the program actually wants the schools, the local law enforcement to train with the teachers.
Yes.
And that is incredibly important because they start building that relationship up and they know how to work together.
Yes.
They know what to expect from each other, and they're already comfortable in that scenario. So
And if we
not that
got this,
anybody can
yeah, if
go,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
to me as a parent, I mean, especially in Virginia, I mean, it's major. It's major to me because it actually alleviates some of that anxiety. I mean, even as in activism, as far as our opposing side, or our uh, enemies, so to speak, against the Constitution, and their worries and concerns of sending their kids to school every day. I have those same concerns. Um, and I'm pretty sure many of you as parents also do. But at the same time, it's their way of doing things have been going on for so long, and we have hoarded those laws so long too. And it's just a stack on stack on stack of the same crap, different day type of scenario. It's not working. None of it's working, and they can change the lingo, they can change the definitions and stuff like that every day. But there are parents like myself that look through all of that, and we're like, no, our kids need to be protected just like we protect politicians. They need to have someone in there. My child is in their care for 8 hours out of the day, and they have. I need to know that my son. I'm going to speak for myself. I need to know that he's legit. I mean, they are going to take care of him, which I'm very blessed that he does go to a school that I believe such. But at the same time, I still have that worry that there's a what if always. I try not to be paranoid. I just want to be prepared. And this is an avenue to preparation for our littles and our children in these school systems. So it's from the heart. So
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
when you get in the car and drive, you don't wear your seatbelt because you're paranoid. You wear
no,
your seatbelt because you know that driving can be dangerous, and that even if you are the best driver in the world, there's other people out there on the road that maybe somebody has a heart attack and
yeah,
their car runs into you, or maybe a deer runs out in front of you, or a tree falls on the road in front of you, or something like that. There's things that can happen.
mm-hmm,
And being prepared for the situation, understanding what could happen, and taking steps to mitigate the risk as much as possible is just being a responsible adult. And
exactly,
the one thing that we do know is that making our schools quote unquote gun free zones, defense free zones, is not working.
no,
And we've seen the evidence of that. We've seen the evidence that these deranged mass murderers seek out these defense free zones so that they can inflict as much carnage as possible before somebody with a gun shows
yes.
up to stop
Yeah.
them.
And
To
and
add to
Jim
So,
that, yeah, go
Jim
ahead.
Irvine made a great point on this. Jim, for those that didn't listen last time, Jim was the one that was presenting the FASTER program. He said he's talked to schools where they said, well, we've got locked doors and you have to be buzzed in, and we got this and we got that. And he said, so you've got everything they had in these schools that have been shot up. So all you've done is prepared yourself for failure. They had everything you're doing and it didn't work.
Sure.
And you're doing the same thing, and somehow now yours is going to work. No, it doesn't work. You need to come at this from a different angle.
Exactly, and
Unless you want another Sandy Hook. Sandy Hook had all kinds of things in place, and it all failed.
absolutely. And the same thing is something that also needs to be understood is that with these classes, that you take, it also sharpens your, I wouldn't say it will make you a professional by any means, but it also sharpens your instincts on picking up on the red flags that these, eh, I hate saying kids, but most of them have been. But you pick up on the red flags. Like, okay, it's not necessarily you want to be accusatory towards them, right off the bat, but you're going to start seeing the signs more often because you're taking the class to actually train you to understand how to defend yourself against it, but you're also going to be able to recognize it at the same time. It's like an upscale situational awareness class. You're just going to be learning more about yourself in those situations, and it's a scenario training. And to me, scenario training in any type of defensive shooting classes, if anybody's ever taken them, I love them. I think that they're like a great experience, but they do sharpen your plan making skills. I mean, for everything. So it's kind of like you can just add this into your little knowledge bank, and it's going to expand so much. And I really wish people would understand too that it's not necessarily we're going to get in there and learn how to shoot a bad guy. You're also going to learn how to, as Pat was saying, mitigate the risks and look for the red flags and actually expand upon them so you can be prepared. And it's amazing. So
Well, and
it's really great training.
you're going to be taught how to do first aid and
Yes,
have
that
kits
too.
around the school that you can rapidly get to stop bleeding or anything else, which is also important. In fact, some of the people that have taken this course decide that firearms just aren't for them, but they want to be part of the solution. So they'll take on other activities that would support protecting the school and protecting those innocent children that don't involve firearms. Again, some of them may really go deeply into how to stop bleeding and things of that nature.
Yep.
All of the medical aspects of it. Maybe some other things that they can do as well. Maybe communications with the police or whatever.
Yes.
But at least this puts everybody so that they understand the problem. Living through a scenario that they're putting you through that really ingrains it in you. It's one thing to sit there and
Yes.
kind of imagine what it would be like. It's another for them to recreate the situation. And you find yourself sitting in a classroom and you hear gunshots. Now
Yes.
what? Now that's different. Now you're living it. You're not imagining how it could be. You're seeing how it could be. And
Yes.
you're feeling that emotion of oh my God, we're now in a position where things could go downhill quickly, and I've got to get in.
Exactly.
I've got to do my part. It's
Like
really something.
you just said, do your part. But I mean, recently, within the last couple of months, I actually got to go in and do a sit down as kind of like a consultant type of thing. Just sit down, a watcher of sorts, for uh, a mass casualty training at an industry here in my hometown, and fire, EMS, everything. From the moment that it started, it happened so fast. I was watching it on these big screens, and the moment the actor came in and did the deed or whatever, and you had several workers that were playing the parts as well as the victims and so forth. I mean, it happened so fast, and I was wondering to myself the entire time. I mean, a huge industry, a huge warehouse. I- In a span of 10-15 minutes, it was done and over with. I mean, EMS were coming in everywhere, but at the same time, I was watching the communications between everyone. That was part of the surveillance aspect of it. And I was thinking about that as far as scaling it down to schools and in homes. It just, when you have everybody body in a position and part of the plan, it's amazing how things just come together and you can actually mitigate those risks.
Yeah, and it happens, as you say, it happens so fast.
So
Sometimes
fast.
it's over in no time, but in no time, they say, well, the police could be there in 3 minutes. Well, in 3 minutes, you could have 18 dead people laying on the
Yes,
floor. It's a long
exactly.
time. That's the faster system says we've got to go with the people that are there. We
Yes,
can't wait for somebody to
exactly.
come in. We need people that are Johnny on the spot to take care of the situation. And that's that. And again, you might think, well, but that it's not real. Therefore, is the training that good? It's amazing how when you're in a scenario like that, how real it feels, even though in the back of your mind
Exactly.
nobody's really getting shot, but you also know that people are watching you. You're
Yeah.
under pressure. What are you going to do? Are you going to do what would save lives? Are you going to cost people their lives? So you're being
My
looked at as well.
Yes,
And that,
my first defensive shooting course, I broke down and cried like a baby. I mean, but I still went through the motions. That was something, I mean, I had to take this class before I became an instructor, and I still went through the motions, passed it, flying colors. But I was so impressed with myself that everything that I had learned, everything that I had gone through, the hours and days prior, I still had that in my memory bank, and it was like a muscle memory. Like, okay, this is what I need to do, step by step. Even though I was just having a panic attack because I was put in a scenario type of situation that I was thinking about my family, and you do that to me, and I just go into another world. I mean, I working in
yeah,
this activism for as long as I have been, and then all of a sudden you putting me on the spot like that. I mean,
I'll bet.
I was all to pieces,
Well,
especially as a brand new mother, and I was about to
Well,
lose it.
the medical
Still,
thing alone is important. Let me tell you why. When there's something like a school shooting or anything of that nature, the ambulance arrives, but they don't go in until the police have secured the
exactly.
building. So therefore, you're in there. Maybe you've got somebody that's been shot. Maybe you've been shot, or hurt in some other way, stabbed. They've had mass stabbings where 30 kids were killed in China. Whatever the situation is, you've got people that have been traumatized, and yet the ambulances and all the medical teams are sitting outside, unable to help you because the police still haven't figured out where the bad guy is, or maybe
Yep.
they don't know that he's already killed himself, so they're still trying to figure that out. You're in the building watching people die. So therefore, this is the thing where Faster steps in and says, okay, we're going to train you into how to stop the bleeding.
Yes.
Therefore, you could be treating people and saving lives while the ambulance people are out there twiddling their thumbs. Not that they don't want to be in there, but they can't come in. I mean, there's no point in them rushing in and getting killed. So they're out there waiting for the police to say, yep, we got it under control. Go in there and save lives. But in some cases, if you can get to somebody quick enough, you can save their life. And if you can't, then
Absolutely.
it's just not going to work by the time. And again, the people running the EMS stuff, they want to save lives. They absolutely
Yep.
do, but they can't always do it. So another reason this would make all the schools safer, just to have that capability alone.
Yes.
Well,
Um,
the other thing too is just the fact that you don't know. It was the point was made earlier. Abel Windsor said Virginia Tech had 190 armed police on campus when the killer did the last 30 murders, and nobody in the building had a gun to defend themselves. So the fact that you don't know who is armed and who is not, when you have
Yep.
a situation like the FASTER program, which is in over 20 states now, by the way, successfully, and they have not had one attempted mass murder in any of the schools that they're in because the attacker doesn't know if the janitor is armed or the principal is armed or a teacher is armed or any number of people that are in that school could be armed and ready to stop them. So they take the path of least resistance and go somewhere else where they know that no one is armed.
yeah.
To
And
add to
that
that,
is the hugest deterrent.
yes.
Imagine not having to worry about mass murders in our schools because the mass murderers don't go there. They don't go to police stations and commit mass murders as a general rule. There was one, but
There've
that's
been a couple
technically
they've tried.
suicide by cop
Yeah.
is
That's
essentially
usually
what
what
that
that is. Yeah.
is, you know.
Well, there was one in Northern Virginia, but they didn't get far. They killed one or two police officers, and then they looked like Swiss cheese. It was
Right,
Yeah.
over.
To add
right.
to what
So
Pat said and to what Abel is also bringing up, I believe several have in the chat, as far as campuses, college and universities, this program will actually help us be able to implement something into the campuses as well. Then reading up on the Cleary Act, which actually is where a lot of these gun control organizations have used the Cleary Act. If you haven't looked it up, it's about a young lady who was a college student. It's the reason why campuses have to turn over their statistics as far as what campus violence or anything violently assaults or anything like that. But reading up on that and also seeing where gun control organizations and their laws that they push have used this act to kind of get rid of the ability to carry onto campuses or do campus carry. It, it's amazing to me that there are so many so many laws that we do have, or just acts in general, that allow opportunity for certain trainings to come in and to where people can be prepared. But these gun control organizations have stepped in and they've put up that brick wall. So if we got faster, kind of implemented and pushed through, we would actually be able to get some campus carry, pushed too. So I mean, that's something
Right.
that's a big goal of
Well,
mine.
the gun
And
control groups benefit from murders and crime because
Yeah.
that's their excuse to come for guns. So I don't think they're particularly interested in fixing some of this stuff.
Yep.
And I don't know how many of our people watching or listening have kids, grandkids, great grandkids in private schools. But one of the big problems that we have here in Virginia is that private schools can't even use the school resource officer, the SROs, that the county schools get. The county can't send those SROs to private schools. They're not allowed to. And private schools can't hire armed security without jumping through so many hoops that it's almost impossible for them to have armed private security on their campuses. And we have more and more private schools here in Virginia now, and more people are sending their kids to private schools. So this is a bigger and bigger concern.
Yes.
And
So
where does the
anyway,
government come off telling a private school how they have to do security? Where does the government come off with that?
And
That makes no sense to me. The government needs to back off and say, let the private schools do their own security. Leave them alone. They can come up with whatever thing they want. And if they come up with something unpopular, like if for some reason the parents don't want armed security, then they'll take their kids out of the private school. They don't have to put them there. But if they like it, then this is the fear. If the private schools have great security, the public schools are going to lose a lot more students. So
yep.
therefore, this is one reason I think they want to keep the government wants to keep its foot in the door and make that private security darn hard to get, so that the public schools have a better security plan.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well,
That's
it's
exactly
like you
right.
said, Philip. It's almost as if they want a body count so that they have
Yeah.
a reason to implement more gun bans.
The school shootings have been the
That's
big ones driving this
yeah,
stuff.
absolutely, absolutely. And if they're willing to sacrifice our children to implement gun control, that's just evil. I'm sorry. That
I'm sorry,
is
yeah.
I mean,
it's
it's
worse than
true.
sick. It's evil. Anyway,
Well,
if any of you are school administrators or teachers and want more information on this program, send me an email, secretary@vcdl.org. I'll put the email in the chat and I will get you some more information. And unless you guys have anything else, we are at the hour and 10-minute mark. So we probably ought to be saying goodnight and letting everybody get on with their evening.
yep. Unless there's any other questions in the chat, I think we've covered everything so far.
Yeah, I like what I dislike what Abel Windsor said, that Tech had banned the graduate teaching assistant who was working that day from carrying his gun and threatened to fire him and prevent him from ever getting a PhD anywhere in the U.S. Um, if that's true, that's despicable.
We need to talk to
So,
him.
yeah,
Is he from Bristol?
I don't know.
We need to get him. We need to work him in there as a plaintiff
Yeah.
or something.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yep.
right. Well,
Yeah,
Anyway,
but it's yeah.
we thank everybody for tuning in. Like I say, October 26th, if you're in the Charlottesville area, it's a Saturday. A nice day to
mhm.
drive out there, maybe. Let me know by that Friday, and we'll put you on the list to be in the drawing for a handgun.
Yep, and
Uh,
somebody was asking about accommodations in Charlottesville. So when you RSVP to Philip, put that in your email in the RSVP, and we'll try to get you some hotels. You can go to the Range's website, rrpc.org, and they may have some um, list of hotels nearby as well, because they do different trophy matches and so forth. So I guess that's it.
yeah,
So please do all the YouTube things and the Facebook things, like, subscribe, share, all that
Yeah.
good stuff. And thank you all for joining in. We appreciate you, and we will see you in the next one. Good night.
Right, y'all.